The voters have come out and sent a loud and clear message, actually, to say that they voted for change 2 years ago, they haven't seen it.
Would a change in leadership with Labour actually help, or is it just rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic?
What do you think, April?
I feel like I'm worried that the MPs in Westminster have amnesia. Like, we've been here before and it didn't end well, so why are we doing it again?
Well, Michael, you've seen several endings in your time.
I certainly
in the Conservatives. You orchestrated one of them yourself, actually, with Boris Johnson, I seem to remember. Knifed him in the back or the chest, depending on how you want to put it. What's your answer?
I think that it could, but it's not enough simply to change the face, the voice. It's not enough simply to say that someone is apparently more charismatic or a better communicator. There needs to be a strategy, a sense of purpose and a sense of mission at the heart of government. I think Keir Starmer's tragedy has been that a palpably decent man with broadly the right motivation to be in public service didn't come into government with a plan to transform the country effectively. And we've seen in the succession of policy U-turns, in the change of people at the top around him, the consequences in Westminster of that, and now we're living through the consequences more widely. So whether it's Wes Streeting or Andy Burnham or Angela Rayner or Ed Miliband or any of the other potential alternatives, they need to lay out a case. They need to make an argument. In her resignation letter, Jess Phillips, the safeguarding minister, who's a widely respected figure, made the point that a fear of getting involved in an argument meant that Labour, and in particular the Prime Minister, didn't make arguments. And critical, I think, to success for the country is that the next Prime Minister needs to identify what needs to change economically, what needs to change in terms of border security, what needs to change in terms of dealing with extremism, and to have that coherent vision, which so far, tragically, has been lacking from this government.
And if you had to choose one candidate, at the moment we don't have a candidate, there's kind of shadow boxing going on at present, no one's actually declared, who do you think would be best placed to do it?
If I said of any of those who've put their names forward so far that they were my favourite, that would automatically damn them. But I have actually said in the past, the person in the cabinet who I think would be the best Prime Minister, and that's the Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood. I think that she is easily the most intelligent, tenacious and capable of all of the people around the cabinet table. But it is a symptom of the difficulty that Labour find itself in, that the person who is the toughest and smartest is the person who has been ruled out as a potential successor.
Jenny.
I do think that there is something, your questions, I think, speaks to what is going on in political life today, and observing that there have been 6 Prime Ministers in the last 10 years. There were 6 Prime Ministers in the 50 years prior to that. So there is, I think, a difference in the tone of politics and the desire of politicians when something is not working straight away to want to make that change. I don't think the public like it. I think the public wish that politicians would sit down, hammer out their differences, come to a more unified position, and then present that to the public. That is what I think.
What is behind April's question? If she's saying, would a change of leadership actually help or make no difference because you're going to lose anyway, i.e. rearranging of deck chairs on the Titanic, what's your answer to that?
I think we're 2 years into a 5-year term. I think you speak to anybody who's been Prime Minister, they talk about the first 2 years being the most frustrating, being the time when they look back and wish they had known what they knew later on in their political career so that they could have made more progress with it. I am very frustrated about the speed of change that we've been able to bring. We've done a lot, but we have not moved fast enough. I think that message from the public is crystal clear, and we have to focus on moving faster, correcting some of the things that we inherited. We had some good news today on economic growth and on waiting times in the health service. Things are starting to get better, but the public is quite rightly very demanding of us. But I don't think what they're saying to us is, we want you to spend months and months looking in on yourselves, arguing, having faction fights and personality contests. I honestly do not think that that is what the public of this country want.
So Andy Burnham has made a move in that an MP, Josh Simons, says he will stand down from his constituency seat in order to allow Andy Burnham to stand. Should the National Executive Committee allow Andy Burnham to stand for election? On
a purely human level, and I speak as somebody who I fought 4 general elections, I won 3 and I lost 1. Each time I got elected to Parliament from my hometown in Darlington, nothing would have made me stand down from my seat, absolutely nothing. I was completely dedicated to it, and I saw that as the biggest responsibility of my life, to fulfil that promise to the people who elected me. I do find it, I think there's this thing now where you're sort of treating the electorate like pawns in your imaginary political chess game, and I think it's I don't think it's to be encouraged at all. What happens in terms of whether Andy gets to be a candidate, not a candidate, all of that is for tomorrow, I think. And
I think it's possibly for today, Jenny. I mean, things are moving pretty fast. You might want to wait. The BBC is saying it understands that Keir Starmer will not seek to block Andy Burnham standing for election. Is that your understanding?
I honestly, I hadn't heard that, but if that's the decision. I think that what needs to happen is we have a big process in the party. The NEC gets involved, local members need to be involved as well. They choose their candidate and they put that choice. The people who are missing from some of this conversation is the voters. Voters decide who their MP is. It's not something that gets stitched up. You don't choose who comes after you. I very much hope whoever the Labour candidate is successful. I will go to Makerfield.
Well, that's going to be Andy Burnham, so you hope he's successful.
Absolutely. If he's the Labour candidate, I will be there. I'll campaign for him. Makerfield has had some fantastic MPs in the past. Yvonne Favargue was an amazing MP, dedicated. Before that, you had the wonderful Ian McCartney. It's a great part of the world, and whoever stands for Labour, I'll be there and campaign alongside them.
Jenny mentioned about growth. Yes, okay, we may be better than Japan or Canada at this stage, but if we're growth at 1% or sub 1%, 3% inflation, where are we going to? I want the next leader to set out how we're going to grow and support small businesses. I've been to Number 10. I've spoken to ministers there, talked about how we're the engines of growth, but I'm not seeing a plan. So whoever the next leader is needs to set out that plan.
And do you want Keir Starmer to be that leader? I
want someone with a plan to set it out. Well, I think it may not be Keir Starmer. I'm not sure.
The figures that we had today, though, 0.6% for the first quarter, that is strong growth. And I think that finally we're starting to see that growth in our economy.
Man in the grey and white top.
You talk about change. You can draw a straight line back to Rachel Reeves's first budget, £68 billion of tax increases. I mean, it's all gone wrong for Labour ever since that first budget. That would be the point I'd like to make.
I mean, that first budget was tough because we had to fill
Jenny,
a massive hole that was left for us in our public finances.
You're going to get lots of comments, and I'll come. Don't feel you have to answer. I'll come back to you and give you a chance. Okay. No, not at all. But I'll definitely give you a chance. Okay. Yes, man there in the dark blue top.
If it is the case that Keir Starmer is replaced as Prime Minister by one of the other potential candidates, is it really appropriate that those candidates who will have a very different policy to the Prime Minister who was elected 2 years ago should go into that position without any oversight from the electorate?
What, without a general election, you mean? Right, OK. Steve, let's bring you in here. Would a change of leadership actually help Labour, or just be a rearrangement of the deck chairs on the Titanic?
Well, look, I think, as some of the audience have said, I think there needs to be a policy set out and a plan, and that's certainly what we're calling for. We're not calling for Keir Starmer to walk out the doors of Number 10 immediately and someone... Well, not someone to replace him immediately. I think. But
you want him to go, don't you? I mean, you were part of the 11 unions that signed a letter saying things have got to change, and he's not.
I was one of the first to call for Keir Starmer to go. I think if he'd have gone in February, we wouldn't have found the Labour Party wouldn't have found themselves in the position where the voters have come out and sent a loud and clear message, actually, to say that they voted for change 2 years ago, they haven't seen it, and I think that's been clear across the board. What we've seen in Wales has been a decimation of the Labour Party, and I think it's been because Keir Starmer's not trusted. He promised to deliver change. So I think what our position is certainly is that Labour trade unions is we want to see whoever's put in front of us, what they're going to deliver for that change, how they're going to deliver new policies. I think they need to be bolder in their approach to what they look at, and I'll certainly be making the case of what they're going to do for the Fire and Rescue Service that was decimated after 14 years of Tory rule. However, in the last 2 years, we've not really seen too much of a detachment from that. We feel that we're still in austerity. We're still facing job losses, still facing fire stations being closed. We haven't seen the change that's been promised. So
and who do you think could bring that change?
Well, I don't know at the moment. I just want to make sure that the right person...
You must have a view, come on.
Well, look, who knows? Who knows what the PLP are going to put in front of us?
Yeah, but I'm asking, who would you like to see as the next...
Well, I'd like to see someone that's going to invest in public services, invest in jobs,
and would that
give a bold plan.
Would that be Andy Burnham?
Well, look, I think Andy certainly
choice?
shouldn't have been blocked in the Gorton and Denton by-election. I think that was outrageous. And I think I've talked about this faction at the top of the Labour Party, the likes of McSweeney, Mandelson and Starmer have had their clutches around too much of the Labour Party. Democracy, I believe, has been lost. Trade unions have not been listened to.
Sure, but you made it clear that you don't want Starmer to say, this is your moment to put your money where your mouth is. Who would you like to replace him?
Well, we're a democratic union, Fiona.
And I'm just asking your view.
Yeah, well, my view is the view of my members, and we'll discuss it at the right time. We'll see whoever comes in front of us, whoever that is, we'll make some demands of them, and whoever delivers the best for my members and fixes the Fire and Rescue Service will do well to get our support.
Danny. I mean, Nigel Farage has said that Keir Starmer is the greatest asset
to
reform the UK. So in a way, would you actually like him to stay on?
Well, I mean, to take the question seriously, I don't think it is the right thing for the country to have another change of leadership, especially when the inevitable result of that will be the government shifting further to the left, because they'll have to, because that's what the unions are going to demand, and it's what their backbenchers demand. The fact is, it doesn't matter who it is, because the Labour Party is absolutely unable to govern in the national interest because of the split. I'm afraid it's the same in the Tory party. The two main parties are completely split, and that's the result of poor leadership, all sorts of problems that we can identify going back years. But here we are now. The biggest challenge facing the country is how to get money out of the welfare budget and into the defence budget, because that is the absolute priority for our country. The Labour Party can't do it. Every penny that you spend in income tax is going on welfare. And they can't make any cuts because the Parliamentary Labour Party will not let them.
That isn't actually true.
Well, you couldn't make any cuts at all. You tried to make a couple of billion.
You spend on the health service.
Yes, no, but the entire
education,
indeed,
police.
but the entire income tax receipt is the equivalent of the welfare bill. So that's what's got to change, and you can't do it.
Which includes pensions, of course, it's worth saying.
But the fact is, they can't make the changes that the country
a third of its
needs. And we won't get that under this government, I'm afraid. So I do want a general election. That's what we need to have as soon as possible. But I don't have any faith in any of the candidates that are coming through on the Labour side.
Man in glass in the blue shirt.
So we've wasted 2 years, right? And everyone's been crying out for change, and there's a lot of blame that's going by. It would be useful to analyse why we wasted 2 years. You know, opposition parties, do they have the same access to resources and policy development? As we hear, well, we've lost these 2 years, too bad. We don't want constant merry-go-round of different governments coming in and not being able to effectuate change. So is there anything that could be done in terms of resources or in terms of the parties in waiting so that we don't have this situation again?
Well, open the books a bit more so they can actually see what they're dealing with.
We have to look at the books, we have to open the books, it takes us time to get up to speed. We don't have time to wait to wait for that.
Woman here in the green top.
You mentioned change, but I think it's impossible when we have a country that is so divided as we are, and I don't honestly see any party being able to unite us at all.
Can I, those of you who've got your hands up are going to come back to you in a moment. Can I just have a show of hands now? And let me just say again, as I did at the beginning of the programme, you are representing the electoral picture across the nation. Vote share at the general election, we take into account what's happened at the local elections as well. Some of you will have your own reasons for wanting Keir Starmer to go, because you don't want Labour to stay in. But how many of you think Keir Starmer should go? Okay. So No, I would say that looks like not quite half to me. All right. Now, you had your hand up in the blue sweater. Yes, let's hear what you've got to say.
I think going back to something you said about changing the agenda and changing the way we move forward after these local elections, I think the main thing is people associate that agenda with the leader, which is currently Keir Starmer. We've seen constant U-turns, scandals with Mandelson, promises in the 2024 election that were broken in the first budget. So they associate constant mismanagement and basically lies for a lot of people with Keir Starmer, which is why I believe that moving forward, they're not going to, if you change the agenda, they're still going to associate the previous mistakes with Keir Starmer, I believe.
Okay. Man at the very
Can
back.
I respond to
that? I'm going to get a few points. I'll come back to you now.
Okay, thanks.
Man at the very back. Yes, you, sir.
Well, talking about the changes, I don't think anybody would be brave enough to do other than Mr. Bean, because
other than Mr. Bean?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, he's not an MP, and anybody takes on under the
Well, he's not real apart from anything else, but yeah.
Well, with the economy we're under at the moment, I don't think anybody would succeed.
All right, let's hear from the guy in the grey sweater, yes.
Is there like a more cursed job than being Prime Minister? Because I feel like every 2 years we have a similar thing where people are calling for the Prime Minister to go, and I think it's better to have stability for the long term. And obviously it's not surprising, politics is full of self-interested people, but why is there always backstabbing happening? I think that it's good for the country if there's more stability.